What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Around the VLA. My name is Rob St. Clair, joined by Vince Zuki as usual, and a very special guest. It is finally time to unveil the eighth and final team participating in VLA Tier 1 on the year, and the boys are making their debut tomorrow, which I'm so excited for. Mr. Garrett Minyard of the Northeast Force, welcome to the show. It is about time, my friend.
It is about time. It's a pleasure to be here, pleasure to be in the league, and can't wait to make some noise tomorrow. So excited.
Dude, so am I. I'm flying out to Connecticut tomorrow. We got matches tomorrow night and all weekend long to kick off the East Coast, and we're going to get to all that, dig into everything we can expect from the Northeast Force and all the good stuff surrounding Garrett's boys from Connecticut. But first, since the last show, we've had a pretty big tournament out in Southern California that Vince and I were at. It was the West Division Cup, and it ended up looking kind of like this in terms of results. That was a great tournament. Just about 2 weeks ago. We had a blast opening up pretty much a brand new gym in Seal Beach in Orange County, which was incredible. Ruckus came out and beat the SoCal Rising Tide, all SoCal battle, like rematch of last year's Cup finals in a great four-setter in the finals of this one. All the whole Tier 1 West Division made their debuts. A handful of Tier 2 teams made their VLA debuts. A handful came out from all over the country. It was awesome. Vince, you were there. Let's dive into it really quick. Where do you want to start with this tournament?
Well, let's just start right from the start, or right at the top. SoCal Ruckus. I was actually able to follow them pretty much the entire tournament, and they are who they are. They're clearly at this point, I'd say the team to beat in the VLA, even though they're tier 2. Went 5-0. The only team that really gave them a challenge was the first match. 6-3 Slunkers took them to 5, where they actually had a 2-point or two set lead on them, and they were actually up, I think, 22-19 before Ruckus was able to turn that third set around, and then completed the reverse sweep. But other than that, to talk about Ruckus, they didn't look quite as dominant as they did at VLA Cup. In all honesty, VLA Cup, they really near the end looked pretty unstoppable. This one definitely you gotta give your tip the cap to Joe Kaliakimo, who pretty much put the whole team on his back and
100%.
and carried them the entire way. And he did a fantastic job. Mark Olson did an amazing job in the middle, but for the most part, this was definitely something that I think he kind of willed it into being.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing for a setter to be able to do that. He had double-digit kills multiple times in matches in this tournament as a setter, which was ridiculous. He just kept throwing balls down, kept turning and swinging on balls. Plus, was probably the best setter, like pure setter in the tournament. So yeah, well-deserved MVP award for Joe K. Stacked all-tournament team. That all-tournament team, if you put the 7 of them together, could have been pretty filthy as well. So, and yeah, the rematch also Cal in the finals between the Rising Tide. The Rising Tide just ran out of gas. That was my take. They had a phenomenal weekend. They were untouchable on day one. They played phenomenally good volleyball. Chris Johnson was probably the best middle in the entire gym all weekend, which shouldn't surprise you given his resume. But Ruckus had a lot more bodies on the roster. They were able to stay a lot more fresh than the Rising Tide was. And by the time it got to the finals, like you could really tell, especially with some of the Tide guys having to go to the bench, they were running out of gas. They probably didn't have what it was going to take to force that to 5. And that's pretty much what it came down to for me. But that's kind of the cool thing about the cup tournaments, is because we're packing so many matches into one weekend. Like, we're grinding teams down pretty hard, but that's kind of the point. We want them to bring big rosters, like be prepared, have depth, rely on a bunch of guys to get you to the point where you want to be, and then you can play your starters when it matters. That's not something that every team was able to do, especially in this tournament. Ruckus was one of them. But yeah, it really to me, Joe K put the team on his back, just like Vince said.
Yeah, absolutely, and not to say that Ruckus wasn't out of steam too. I mean, Wexter had to take time off during the middle of that match. Luis Palos came in and got some quality reps to give him a breather. But Also, one of the most amazing bounces I've ever seen. Michael Wexler from Joe K. I think the second point of the sport when they played Sport Connects was absolutely unreal. And so, yeah, Ruckus definitely showed where they stand. You know, they definitely picked up some momentum. They're still, in my opinion, the team to beat out there, and they definitely handled business out at the West Division Cup, going undefeated. And really, the only time I felt they ever really were challenged was that first match. 6-3-0 Slunkers definitely came out and played them tough.
Yeah, and that's a good segue because the 6-3-0 Slunkers in their VLA debut coming out of Tier 2 in Chicagoland were a really pleasant surprise. Now, Ruckus clearly didn't take them seriously in that first match. They had to bring the starters in the third set after going down 0-2, but those Slunkers guys were really impressive. And even though they didn't have that good of a day one, they caught fire on day two, including beating Vince in the Ascension to reach the semifinals. And I was very impressed by that. They're going to be a player in the Tier 2 Central Division, maybe in more so of a way than I initially thought.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, they took care of business, and they hung around with us well enough to, in my opinion, steal the set four that we kind of had a little bit of a comfortable lead that we thought we were just gonna, you know, take a couple easy points and finish off the match. And they turned around, stole set four from us, and then they just completely buried us in set five. And I mean, hats off to them, because they definitely they stole the momentum of that match, and they took care of business. And you know, and then they didn't just, oh, we're satisfied with, you know, getting to the semifinals. They actually took Ruckus again to they took them to 4 and competed well against them. And yeah, like you said, did a great job of gathering up I think 7 points in the Central Division race. And they're looking pretty good as far as you know, where they stand in the Tier 2 rankings at the moment, especially with the Central Division only needing the 50 points to get promotion.
Right. Yeah, definitely a pleasant surprise. I was very impressed. Mike Legros, their setter, very well deserved all tournament team nomination. Sport Connects, also out of San Francisco, finishing tied for third. They have just a brutal schedule. They lost to the Rising Tide in the semifinals in 4. They lost to Ruckus on day 1 and Pools in 4, and just destroyed everybody else that they played. They had a ridiculous comeback against the West Coast Brigade on, like, I think their first match of the day on Saturday, who Brigade, by the way, was also a pleasant surprise. But Sport Connects in the third at a tied 1-1 match came back from down 24-19, which was one of the better comebacks against a set point I've ever seen. Like, they got a side out. They had 2 Nick Iorfino aces. Then eventually they had one of the great stuff blocks of the entire tournament to win it, like 28-26. So that comeback was sick. I thought Sport Connects played really well. I think they just got kind of unlucky with the draw that they got. They are absolutely going to be a player for the West Division title. I think they can and will beat Rising Tide this season, which we'll see actually next week in Phoenix, which I'm excited about. We'll preview that in a little bit. But Vince, what were your quick Sport Connects takes on the weekend?
Yeah, you know, I think not having Ryan Bridge definitely was a little bit of a factor in that. I know that you know, they still played great through and through, but he actually was out with COVID and wasn't able to travel with the team to that one. Took a little bit of their depth away, especially at the setter position. And I mean, in my opinion, in the grand scheme of things of the West, I have a feeling that Sport Connects has a good shot to come out on top. And they're just a solid competitive group. I think that, you know, it goes into each, you got to play each match, and I think that, yeah, they definitely will probably take a couple matches from Rising Tide this year if they keep matching up against them, outside of even just the West Division, in which we obviously have they have 4 matches against Rising Tide, still 4 matches against Ascension left to go in the season, and we'll see where we line up, because we all played each other in the VLA Cup last year, so I wouldn't be surprised if we run into each other at the VLA Cup as well.
Very possible. So yeah, just to go down to a couple other Tier 2 teams, Imiola out of Hawaii and the New York Pride, good finishes. both at 5th place, grabbing a couple points in the standings. Brigade, like I mentioned, a good debut for them. The tall ones from Northern California with points on the board in the standings, and the Seattle Riptide. And like, just because Seattle Riptide finished in last didn't mean they didn't play great volleyball, because they did. I was really impressed by some of the ball they were able to play. Their roster was just too thin. That was kind of what did it for them, in my opinion, but I hope to see them again soon. And Vince, before we move on away from the West Cup, tell me about your Ascension team's performance, because I thought on Saturday your team looked awesome. You won your pool and were relatively untouched, and then dropped that 5-setter to the Slunkers first thing in the morning Sunday.
Yeah, I think the same thing is kind of the story for all of the teams, Ruckus included. Teams just running out of gas, and that definitely happened to us, where once the steam was kind of taken out of our sails, the wind out of our sails in that set 4, I mean, there was pretty much no recovering. We were definitely playing to 4, let's just say, in that one, and once it went to 5, we just ran out of steam, and so that it happens. I mean, we went really hard the first 2 days. We looked really, really sound. Zach Melcher and Brian Lewis both really carried us. And then when we got into that quarterfinal match against the Slunkers, they definitely just kind of took the wind out of our sail. And yeah, I'm actually very pleased with the way that we played. Unfortunate loss there, and then we definitely didn't really come out to play against Emiola. Emiola definitely handled us there, but again, I think overall positive coming out with 7 points from the West Division Cup.
Agreed. And speaking of the point standings, here's what the Tier 1 West Division looks like as of right now. We'll add to this significantly next weekend in Arizona, but the Rising Tide, clearly the team to be in the division at the moment. And just because Sport Connects is in 3rd at the moment, again, I think that the schedule that they played was by far the most difficult of any team, losing only to the 2 finalists. So I definitely expect them to be a contender, but a packed race in the West Division so far. Like, we talked about the Central Division on last show, where the Icemen are clearly like significant levels above Team Pineapple in that division. This division is a different story. I'm excited about these battles, both in Phoenix next weekend and California in May, and then any of the 3 could really do a lot of damage in VLA Cup. So this division's super competitive, and I expect the East to be the same just this weekend, which we'll talk about in just a second. Vince, any more about the West before we move on to Garrett?
Yeah, I mean, this week, obviously the focus is on the East. But as far as the aftermath of the West Division Cup, there's this division's kind of a toss-up at the moment. And like you said, Sport Connects can't ever be counted out. They have way too much talent. And Rising Tide, obviously being the team they are, consistently just a quality team through and through. It's going to be a good race to see who finishes up on top at the end of May.
And possible that more than one team comes out of this division, maybe 2, maybe even 3, but there's going to be a lot of cannibalism within the division for sure. You guys are going to beat up on each other, and that's what sports are all about, so I'm stoked to see that. All right, let's move on to the man of the hour, Mr. Garrett Minyard. It is about time, my friend. Let's look to the East Coast, the only Tier 1 division that's left to play this year. Team LVC, one of the founding 5 franchises who everybody knows and loves. The Boston Bounce, promoted to Tier 1 this offseason, who played really well in their couple appearances last year, including VLA Cup. And now finally, the Northeast Force, the 3rd piece of the puzzle in the East Division race. Garrett, let's start with who's the Northeast Force? Where are you guys from? What's the history? What's your place in Connecticut sports? Like, just tell us about your squad and kind of where you guys come from first and foremost.
Oh man, it's a long history and full of great stuff. So I'll try to spare you all the details, but a lot of our guys that are on this team, we played together in college, and a lot of us played at Sacred Heart University together. We were playing at Sacred Heart at a time where, we were a program on the rise, and a bunch of guys who got the bug for playing beyond college. So we never stopped, and, we kept on playing together at, local tournaments and going to adult nationals and things like that. A few of us wound up going overseas to play and taking it to the next level in that regard. And upon my coming home from being in Italy, I started a juniors club with my wife out here in Connecticut, called Northeast Volleyball Club. And I figured, hey, what better way to kind of rope this all in than to connect this men's program to a juniors club, and in a way be able to set an example for these kids that we're coaching now, and give them this foresight as to what could be available to them in their own future, whether that's beyond college or and so it seemed to make sense. So we tied the pieces together, and the Northeast Force was born. We were able to get all the old band back together and add in a couple of great new pieces. And we hit the ground running back in 2018, and went into adult nationals, and made a statement there, brought in a bunch of guys. They're just old friends, and like Jeff Menzel was playing with us back then, and Jack Redicek, and Eric Vance, a bunch of guys from Cal State Northridge, and just friends of friends and things like that. And over the years, we've evolved into who we are now. And we've had the opportunity to play just locally, but getting back involved in now the VLA is exactly where we wanted to be, and happy to wind up here and get to play in the East Division against a couple of teams that have also been kicking around for quite a while, and that we've crossed paths with before, but now it's official.
That's what I wanted to ask about next. And I love the model of attaching your VLA squad to a juniors club. You're not the only ones to do that. And I love that. LVC, a great example, Team Pineapple, of course. And then some of our tier 2 teams have attachments to local clubs. I love that. And it's kind of goes to the part of what the VLA loves to do in our events is put a court of professional level men in a juniors event with thousands and thousands of junior boys or girls that are already there, already playing. And you get a bunch of free fans that way who may have not ever seen the game at that high level before, and which is exactly what we're going to do tomorrow night in Connecticut. But before we talk about the event, tell me about the Northeast Force's history with teams like LVC, like the Boston Bounce. There's a lot of overlap there. There's even some of your guys that are playing with you this weekend, a couple that played for Boston Bounce last year. And LVC has been kind of the team to beat in East Coast volleyball forever.
Sure.
But there's got to be a lot of history with you playing against those guys. So tell me about the rivalries that may already exist, even though you're just making the debut tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say the roots run deep in those rivalries for sure, especially with Team LVC, as they've been around, obviously, as you said, a long time. Have always been a really formidable competitor. And even back before Northeast Force, when we were playing under different titles, we would run into those guys in just about every tournament that we would play. And, it was very common that our two teams were going to find each other in the final playing for, some whomping prize of like $500 or something like that. And, it's just like everyone's just all in on this. And, of course, you had guys like going back and forth between those teams at the time too. And, you'd go to pick up a setter for the weekend and be like, oh, I'm already playing with LVC. And you're like, gosh, these guys got him before I did. But
Hosley, man, a ruthless recruiter.
He's good at it. He's real good at it. And I spent a couple of seasons playing with LVC as well, and going kind of back and forth between running my own team and then jumping in with them when they needed somebody. And so as much as there is some really good rich history in the rivalry, there's also been a lot of interconnection between the players on our teams. And no better example than Nick Hunt, who went from being a starting opposite and I say star player and for LVC back in the day to taking the jump over to play with us and leaving that team. And of course, LVC won their first Open Nationals the year that Nick left their team, so that one hurt. But yeah, I mean, it's been awesome seeing them progress and get into where they are now as a real contender here in the league. And looking at that isn't also really encouraging for our team, because we know, we've played these guys, we beat these guys, we know who they are and what they're about. And, so for us to walk in with that little bit of confidence, knowing that, we don't just hang, like we can take these guys down. We've done it before. That's a really nice deal. And, on the side of Boston Bounce, Jeff Botrin is just one of the greatest guys. And I'm sure you guys already know that from his time in the league. And, it's been really awesome watching him put all that together and grow his own brand up in that area. And they've got a lot of really talented players up there. And a couple of our guys like Brad Borse and Clay Paulin, they were playing with Boston last year. We weren't playing in the league, but we did have at some point an unofficial scrimmage against them, where they came down to our facility, and we went 5 sets with them and wound up taking them down in 5. And it was just an awesome way for them to get to know their own team a bit before heading out and playing in the cup. And for us to just, keep holding on to that, again, that idea of like, we're going to get into this, and, we still got it over here. So, Brad and Clay are, obviously they're traders now, but they've been talking a big game all week about taking these Boston guys down. And so we're looking forward to that too.
Love it. So that's so awesome. What I love about a division like this is I think you guys are more geographically tighter than any other group of 3 teams this good that you could possibly put together anywhere. Like other than maybe SoCal, like Boston, Hartford, Connecticut, and then like Albany, New York are not far away from one another. So it's not surprising at all. Not surprising at all that you guys have seen each other over the years. So before we talk about this weekend's event, I wanted to ask you about, now that like this weekend's going to feel pretty familiar with you playing familiar opponents in LVC and Boston Bounce, but now that it's within a structure like the VLA and there's these divisional standings and trying to make the playoffs and traveling to these giant cup tournaments and playing other teams from all over the country, what does that change for you guys maybe? And I guess what opportunities within that structure are you guys looking forward to the most?
Yeah, I think it's, if we're used to just going and playing some single day event, it's just about having a good day, and you could also have a bad day. And, the structure of the league here gives you an opportunity to show how good you are over time, which I think is more important, and creating that consistency. And, it's not about Nick Hunt showing up and going off for 30 kills in that one match. It's like, that's great. We won the $500. This is like, how many times can he do that? And how often can we play our best? And I think that's the challenge, right? Is, can we stay in the gym and keep getting better throughout the season? And can we learn more about these guys and maybe break it down a little bit more than we're used to, as far as learning how to beat them and picking up some more information. So I really think that's going to be the big change. Is I think we're going to get a better sense of where everyone falls more consistently, rather than just who had a great day that one day. And I think just something else we're looking forward to is just getting out and playing against some teams from other parts of the country. Is I think not just us, but almost everyone in the world right now has been pretty locked into where they live in their immediate geographic area. And we're psyched to go back out and kind of showcase what's going on, not just with our team, but represent the East Division and show that we've got some, as you mentioned, Rob, we got some really talented players out this way. And I think the East probably gets a bad rap in most cases when it comes to volleyball. So there's always a little chip on our shoulder as far as proving that we're a contender as well. So I'm looking forward to that.
Vince, what do you got for our boy Garrett here before we talk about this weekend's event in particular? Anything?
Come on, Vince, lay it on me.
Yeah. Hosley was, I think, 6-0 last year. Just saying, when he was on the court. No, maybe he was 4-0.
That's true.
I think he was
only when he played.
There was definitely a board. It was a discussion on the board. We were all undefeated up to, I think, the VLA Cup, when Tim lost in the first match to Bounce or to Ruckus. I'm not sure which one it was, but then Yeah, we were all undefeated until I think the VLA Cup, or actually I was undefeated until I lost in Nebraska. But yeah, Hosley, I think he didn't play in the championships that weekend, and so he kept his undefeated streak alive when he started. So watch out for that. Maybe a secret weapon for him. I'm not sure. That's the only thing I know for
I'm writing
sure
this
out of
down.
Team LVC right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Take note. That's scouting.
Put it on your scouting report. Yeah, Hosley, most fearsome player in the league. I really hope he's watching this.
Most dangerous out of definitely New York.
Hey, does him coming in as a service sub count? Does that count against his record?
No, it does not. No,
that's
service sub does not. He had to start the match. So,
okay.
But yeah, okay. So yeah, I think he only missed one serve out of like 22 attempts or something like that. I mean, they're all
one of the things that you board members have in common is none of you ever miss serves. I like to see.
we do generally keep our serves in. Yeah, we have to set an example. It's like, why are these guys ripping it when you can just serve it in, keep the guys in system?
It can't go out if it's only going 30 miles an hour. It's not happening.
Yeah. We try not to get past 45. That's for sure. But no, yeah. I mean, it's great to see. Obviously, Northeast Force has a rich history, as he discussed, going back into the open days of USAV Nationals, and I mean, it was a perfect fit really for that East Division because again we knew who was up there, we knew what teams were there, and with Balance Force and LVC, I mean it is a very a fitting quality tier 1 division, and yeah, it's going to be exciting to see, and like you said, just over a period of time, not just who brings it that weekend, but who's the consistent team that can fare not only well in their division, but also against the teams across the country. Because we've seen in the Central Division how, for example, Iceman and Swede Iceman doesn't match up well against Swede, and that plays a factor is where Swede may not look so great against a few of the teams around the country. That division rivalry brings something out of different teams, and so that's exactly what we're going to see, that kind of that storyline and that characteristic out of the East. And it's definitely going to be very prevalent this weekend when we see these 3 teams go after it.
Yeah.
Very well said. So speaking of this weekend, here is what we've got going on. We will be at the Mohegan Sun Casino in Connecticut, where the AAU, the New England region of AAU, is putting there's, I think, the second weekend in a row, right? They've been packing a lot of volleyball into this casino convention center. So starting off tomorrow night, we've got one of the great matchups in all the VLA, Bounce versus Force, then 3 matches Saturday and 2 matches Sunday. So each team will play 4 total. They'll play each other team twice. Garrett, you've done an awesome job putting this event together. I can't wait to get on the plane tomorrow and be there in person. So tell me about this event, about your relationship with the AAU in that region, and what I guess the VLA can look forward to be a part of this event before we kind of break down the matchups in particular.
Yeah, I say first and foremost, the AAU has been super accommodating, and they are just really excited about the opportunity to have this event within their own event. And it took about 30 seconds of explaining what the situation was for them to see the value in doing this, and it was like, say no more. We want to see pro men's volleyball in our convention center, and have an opportunity for all the young players to watch that as well. It just adds a unique element that is not happening at most juniors events. So they jumped on that, and Scott Grandprix is the director of New England AAU for volleyball. He's a former teammate of mine from Sacred Heart, so I've got a great relationship with him, which thankfully made that phone call pretty easy. And he's been just gung ho, our biggest fan, and trying to help us out with all this. So I think what we're gonna definitely see are some big crowds of probably young players and their families, and you're definitely gonna see a bit of banter through the net from all these teams, as we know there's some close ties across the board, and I think that this is the AAU Grand Prix, this event that's running this weekend, I think could wind up being a great home to a VLA event in future seasons as well, and become a staple for them and for us. And hanging out at the casino is not a terrible place either at the end of the night. So I think it all adds up into kind of a perfect storm of a wonderful weekend.
Very well said. I'm definitely looking forward to it. So yeah, we're kicking it off tomorrow night. So all these times are Eastern. Every match streaming live here on the VLA YouTube channel as usual. So yeah, Bounce versus Force tomorrow, 8 p.m. 3 matches on Saturday, 2 matches on Sunday. Garrett, tell us a little bit about your squad. Maybe a little bit of who we can expect roster-wise for the Northeast Force. You dropped a couple names already, but tell me more about some of your teammates, and then Vince and I will dig into some of who we can see from Bounce and LVC. Is both will be very interesting to get to those as well.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I can tell you right off the bat, we're coming in hard to challenge LVC for those top middle positions in the division, because we've got some really standout players in the middle hitter position with Stephen Tarquinio. Played at Hunter College, played 3 seasons over in Germany, and is just a fantastic blocker and attacker as well. And he's this guy brings some great passion to the court. You will see some pretty great celebrations coming out of him. Clay Paulin, who we mentioned before, UCLA alum. Gosh, are we fortunate to have Clayton had moved out to Connecticut at some point and joined the Connecticut volleyball world out here. And that was an easy pickup for us to get a 6'9" guy from UCLA to join our team, who wound up living in our backyard for 5 years unannounced, but we discovered him. And so
that is ridiculous.
Unreal. Someone brought it up to me one day. You ever heard of this guy, Clay? He's like 6'9". He played at UCLA. I said, you got to invite him to come to practice this week. We need this guy. So that's exciting that we've got him. And he's one of, and it played at a lot of different levels. He's one of the best middle attackers that I've ever played with. Just consistently on time and available and can score. So looking forward to that. Ryan Thomas is our other middle that's going to be with us from NJIT. Had a great Division I career and is a left-handed middle, which is
really?
Yeah, man, makes for some interesting plays if you're not marking him the right way, because he'll come around and just go completely the opposite direction of what you thought. He'll come. I'm not going to give away too much here, but he makes for some highlights when people forget he's left-handed and go on the wrong arm.
No kidding, dude. I'm so much more excited now. I've never commentated a left-handed middle. I've barely ever even seen one. This is going to be dope.
You're going to like the way he plays. He's creative. And the guy's a high flyer and has he's got a great toolbox. So Ryan's always fun to play with. He's been playing with us a long time now, and him and our setter Kevin Goncalves have a great connection. And Kevin's an IPFW alum, played professionally over in Germany. He's been setting with our team for as long as we've been around, and so we've got a nice core group centered around him that he's had a great connection with all of our hitters for a while. From the outsides, we've got Brad Borse, who played with Boston Bounce last year. I know in a few matches. He also played at Sacred Heart with us back in that era. And Brad can hit over just about any block in the country, and I say that with confidence.
I was very impressed by Brad last year. Very impressed.
This guy's intensity and elevation and is just honestly his discipline. You got guys who can go up and put balls away, and Brad is steady as she goes, just an absolute freight train who's going to hit over your block or off your fingers, and there's just nothing you can do about it at some point. And he's pretty dang good at how he plays the game. So Bruno Kreshmar played at Limestone, and this guy has got a whip of an arm. he's just attack, for off the block and go around you. And he's comes from Brazil and played overseas as well in Israel, and played over in England. And him and Steven are actually played together on the same team out in England, as well as our second setter, Frog Ogilvy. And those three guys getting together again is cool, because you got like almost a little this little connection with the three of them having done it together and won national championship over in England. And then seeing them back on the court, they've got a nice chemistry and they can get each other going, which is cool. We've got Cam Roth, who played over at Riviere. Amazing ball control and probably the toughest hybrid serve I've ever had to pass, and I despise it in practice, so I'm hoping everyone else despises it too. He may jump in the libero position, or hit some outside for us too. Mike Fisher, who won't be joining us this weekend, this guy's a premier player for us. He's a absolute stud. Played a season over at Pepperdine before he transferred back to St. Francis, PA. Has now been back in Pennsylvania doing some coaching and training, and one of the smoothest outside hitters that I've had the pleasure of sharing the court with. He's got a whip, and he's got all the shots. I love playing with Fish, and I'm looking forward to him being at the next couple of events. Nick Hunt, obviously standout player. This guy's vertical is through the roof. I'm sure you guys have seen him go.
Oh yeah.
And Nick is really, I will say, grown as a player over the years even, and refined his game to be a little bit more about finding efficient ways to score rather than just, trying to go over the top of everybody. But he can still do that. So that's helpful too. So we're looking forward to getting Nick back in too. He's not with us this weekend. So filling his shoes is Bobby Costigan, another Sacred Heart alum, who's been, in the Connecticut volleyball community has been an icon for years. And getting him, a real local guy on this team is just awesome, and speaks to kind of, I think, what this league is all about, is, debuting and showcasing some talent from every area around the country. And this is just a perfect representation of a kid who was born and raised right here and now gets to represent that on a bigger stage, which is cool. So we're really happy for Bob to be joining us, and we'll definitely make an impact. And I've got to take a moment to tell you guys that Tim McIntosh will be the best libero in this division, if not in this league.
Wow.
And I say that with no hesitation and no stutter. This guy is special. He is the greatest libero I've shared the court with. The amount of court this guy covers is like nothing I've seen. And I've played with some good liberos from, at the collegiate level and over in Italy as well. This guy is different. He's built different. And he is a highlight reel. So I'm telling you, Rob, you're going to have some great calls with this guy. There's going to be some balls that come up that you thought were gone. So that's, I'm telling everyone right now, if you're paying attention to Tim McIntosh, you're going to be, you're going to get your entertainment value for sure.
Wow. High praise. I'm so stoked. That was such a good preview. Did you get everyone, or are we missing a couple? Let me see.
Yeah. I'm also looking to see. I don't want to leave anyone out. Whoever I did leave out's already offended at this point. So
yeah. I'm gonna shoot Ryan Rodera a message. He's gonna be upset about that claim about Mac.
Dude, there's
there
are a lot of really good liberos in this league. Like the Icemen have two of them. Sean Dryden from Team Pineapple, like Como, and all the Ruckus guys are unbelievable. Sport Connect's Thomas Nelson, really good. So this Tim McIntosh character is better than all of them. I would be blown away. I'm very excited to see that. It's quite the claim.
He's got to prove it, right? But that's my prediction right now, and I
love that.
It's different. He's different. So
I love liberos, dude. It's the one position that I don't understand in any way whatsoever. I don't understand how they do what they do, and they always blow me away. So I'm stoked to watch this guy.
Man, and just as an aside, he doesn't have to play libero. Like, he can hit as well as any other hitter on our team, but this is his position and he owns it. And he's got a cannon, and I learned the hard way when he gave me a black eye for about a week last month at just playing in practice. He put one on me. And so I learned the hard way. I'm like, man, good to know that, we can get you out there and you could hurt someone if we're in a bind. So, but yeah, that's my bold prediction for this season. And I think he's going to anchor us, and with the firepower we have coming out of the middle and his passing, we got some good stuff going on.
Sweet, dude. That's a phenomenal preview and useful for me now that I have some storylines off of which to commentate. So that totally helps.
There you go.
I appreciate that very much. Yeah, to look at what I can see from the bounce and LVC rosters really quick. So the LVC roster that it looks like we're going to see tomorrow is the most classic LVC roster of all time. They're stacked in the middle. They've got Jordan Varee, who's a monster, and they are unfortunately thin at the wings elsewhere. That's classic LVC. So you got Hosley, of course, looks like Dave Evans, Andrew Fishman, and Landon Shorts, who I love. The three options at outside, but one of them is going to have to play libero without, I believe, a true libero on the roster. Lance Rogers, AJ Witkowski in the middle are just our VLA mainstays. We've been seeing those guys for years. Love both of their games. Eric Martin, the oldest player in the league, who I love so much. Also our graphics guy. He made all the templates for all the graphics that you're seeing. He's a legend, and he's 5'6" on a good day. So if you haven't seen E play yet, he's a superstar. I love him. And then middles, Ryan Adams, Ryan Carty in addition. And then Jordan Varee, by far LVC's most important player. He's incredible. St. Francis guy.
Everyone's dad.
Everyone's dad. Extremely just father-like vibes all around.
Historic player in the VLA as well. First player to reach 100 points in the league, and so obviously making his mark, early, kind of late in his career, but at the same time, still been a main stage on since the PVL days, and it's always exciting to see Jordan out there.
I love
there's a guy who. And that's the thing, like you say, with this LVC group, this is a classic LVC group with Lance. You got Jordan, obviously Eric. All of these guys are this is who they are, So it's good to see them, coming in and basically being LVC.
And also in classic LVC fashion, you can expect him to bring in much more pieces as the season goes along. Like you'll see Greg Petty later in the year, who was awesome for him last year. You'll probably see Andrew Sato. You might even see a certain former Ohio State National Player of the Year suit up for him, which would be very interesting. So I'm stoked for this LVC team. However,
the only player to ever get a red card ever in VLA history.
Yep.
Mike Marshman.
We have no red cards. Mike Marshman.
Mike Marshman, one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. Just the opposite of the guy that you would expect to get red carded.
Don't get him going though. Don't get him going.
Marsh is sick. That LVC middle core gets even more ridiculous when Marsh comes back from France. He's having a great year right now. So despite how much I love LVC and this roster, to be honest, on paper, they might be the weakest roster of these three teams this weekend, because Garrett's roster looks incredible. And this Boston Bounce roster right now, if this is to be believed, if Jeff Vautrin has been able to pull this off, he's bringing 18 guys to this event. That is absolutely ridiculous. Like I can't even believe he was able to find a roster of this many guys. He's got 25 on the roster to pull from throughout the season, and it looks like 18 of them will be suiting up, which is insane. Great in the middle as well. They pick up Stephen Moy from Sport Connects. He's a Stanford guy who moved to the East Coast. Neil Ferraro, Skylar Kaufman, like those three right there, all guys like 6'8" or bigger. So all three teams' middle battles one-on-one throughout the weekend are going to be unbelievable. Jeff himself on the outside is a superstar. They've got two great setters, and Colin Ritter and Cameron Ponce. What I'm curious about them is they lose their superstar Jalen Penrose to Team Pineapple, which is an interesting storyline. But Jalen's in Switzerland right now anyway. But the hometown Boston kid going to play for Volleyball when he comes back to the States. Who are they going to go to at opposite is my question for the Boston Bounce. And they're going to have a lot of bodies from which to choose, and a couple names that I kind of know and a couple that I don't. So I'm really stoked to see this new look Boston Bounce team with a ton of pieces to choose from. You better believe the fact that they're playing 4 matches this weekend will not bother them at all, because they're going to have the bodies to match.
Yeah. I was actually blessed to have my first commentating assignment for the Boston Bounce SoCal Ruckus first match of the VLA Cup last year. And the middles, Skylar Kaufman and Neil Ferraro, blew me away. They played so well, very, very even keeled. I mean, you weren't seeing balls bounce, to the ceiling or anything like that, but man, they hit sharp angles. They're big. They're fast. They move the great solid block, and they really impressed me. And that was a huge splash for them to jump in. And really, I think they're the only team that has beat SoCal Ruckus since. I think that's the only one, right? And so
other than last year in Phoenix when Ruckus made their debut with a very different roster. Since Ruckus has really been Ruckus. Bounce in that first match of VLA Cup is the only team to beat him. So you're not kidding.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I mean it just shows how solid of a team they are. And bringing 18 guys, I think that they kind of felt like they ran out of steam in the VLA Cup last year when they lost to Sport Connects. Kind of their guys get a little winded. So I can imagine that they're not going to make that same mistake twice, and by bringing 18 guys. And so great. I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see these matchups this weekend.
Me too. Yeah, Jeff has done a really good job putting this team together, and Garrett, I'm sure just a ton of these guys have been a lot of D3 representation. We had Jeff on the show last year on Around the VLA, and he talked about kind of his philosophy for building this Boston Bounce team and bridging like the Boston area with Western Mass and pulling all these great D3 players and making something more than the sum of its parts. And I definitely think he's done that so far. So I'm excited to see what they can bring. Also, I gotta preview some uniform matchups, dude. Like, look at the logos on the screen, the uniforms from Novice that I've seen mock-ups of. I cannot wait to see them in real life. Oh my goodness, so stoked.
Yeah, they look pretty sweet, man. I know ours for sure have been a big hit with the guys already, and it'll be very I think visually pleasing getting us and LBC and Boston out there, just all sorts of good contrast. But I mean, the uniforms are on point. Really good stuff.
Yeah, can't wait to see them. Really, all of them that I've seen so far have blown me away. So shout outs to Novice, our sponsor for this year on that. So that might be about it for this weekend. Vince, what else do you want to hit on the show before we wrap up? And I can pack to get on a plane to Connecticut tomorrow.
Yeah, it's funny. You gotta head out there, right?
And then I got to turn around and fly almost immediately to Phoenix the next week, dude. I'm everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna spend 2 weeks in Phoenix, though, right?
Yeah, that's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, season outlook after 2 events. We've had obviously the first the Central Division event 1, which showed Swede stepping up and kind of making their mark in Tier 2. But obviously the big story is Iceman's to be feared. Coming out and being the clear-cut favorite at this point to being the 2-time champion, obviously going for a third. My outlook after that and the West Division Cup is, with the parity going on in the West Division, I see that obviously the West Division I don't think has a team that really challenges Iceman on at the championship level. I see, obviously that the 3 of us look pretty solid, but I don't think that I think that the 3 of us have a good shot of being one of the top 6 that could make the playoffs because of the parity in our division. However, I don't really see either of the 3 of us being a team that is going to knock Iceman off when it comes to the season end.
Interesting take, and I definitely agree that the Icemen are the team to beat in Tier 1. I think they've played the best volleyball in the last 2 or 3 years. But like from what I saw at the West Cup out of both Rising Tide and Sport Connects, if they're able to add enough more pieces to give them depth at tournaments, I wouldn't put it past them. Like both those teams have middles that can hang with anybody, Icemen included. They both could use some consistency at the setter position that the Icemen really have that those other teams don't right now. Sunil Thomas, I think, is the best setter in all of Tier 1, and unless I see something this weekend that really blows me away, I'm going to stick to that take. So that really helps, especially with all the firepower that Tim has put around Sunil. But I was impressed by both Rising Tide and Sport Connect. I thought the level of volleyball played last weekend was super high, and those two teams clearly not at their peak just yet. And that's another thing that I'm excited about this weekend is how we're going to start to be able to normalize a little bit what we can expect out of all these teams in the different divisions, even before they show up at VLA Cup in May and are able to play against one another for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that with the West Division, I think that all three West Division teams have fantastic opposites. With Colin
100%.
Hackworth and Swede, amazing opposites. You got obviously Davis Cannon, all tournament team last week. Fantastic. Brian Lewis we made the semifinals, probably would have got all tournament team as well. And
For sure.
I mean, and I think that that's the one area that separates the West. And obviously we'll see how the East does this weekend. Central, I think that the top opposite is obviously Griffin Shields, but in my opinion, they don't run their offense through Griffin, where all of the West Division teams run that traditional European offense. The go-to is the opposite, and I think that does give them a bit of an X factor there, where they have that guy they can kind of depend on at any time to throw the ball to. But at the same time, I don't see that any of the West teams are quite as well-rounded. They obviously, none of the teams have the setter that Sunil is. And yeah, we'll see out of the East if there's a guy out there that is going to step up and be able to try to challenge Sunil for that top setter position at the moment. But that's to be seen this weekend. At this point, definitely in the West, it wasn't there.
Fair enough, dude. There's some really good opposites in this league, man. Like, yeah, Colin Hackworth, even Eric Mahalski, their backup, could start on any team. Davis Cannon, Brian Lewis in the Central, Griffin Shields, Jalen Penrose coming to Team Pineapple, like Jordan Varee, Nick Hunt, like, and then whoever Boston ends up putting out there. Like, those 8 starting opposites are insane. I can't believe that. And liberos too, like we already talked about. So Garrett, with what you've seen in the season so far, project a little bit for me maybe some of the play style things regionally, and then how you expect the East to match up later on down the line with the Central and the West, because in American volleyball style, the West Coast plays definitely a different style than you can kind of combine the Midwest and the East Coast.
Sure.
But in the VLA, it's even shaking out a little bit differently than that, is in that there's a lot of different play styles that a lot of these teams have, and some of it's regional, some of it's not. So put your finger on that for your team and for the East Division before we even see you guys, if that's possible.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I agree with you that the styles of play can definitely be geographic, and I think that just goes with who you're playing against the most, and just adapting to the way they're playing, and then modeling your game after things you see working and stuff like that. I think it's no question that between our team and LVC, you've got a big veteran presence, and I do think that counts for something down the road. And you've got guys that have been doing it a while, and they can be consistent. And maybe it's not maybe we don't top that bounce you guys were talking about in the West Cup, like that greatest bounce you'd ever seen, Vince, you're mentioning. Maybe we don't get that, but yeah, but hey, I think that what you're going to see is some really tough serving. That's really going to be the focus for our team, and I'm sure for the other guys in our division as well. Is we're going to be just trying to rip each other off the court from the service line, and we've got a lot of size on our side too, and so we're going to be trying to put up big blocks. And I think going from what I've seen of the West Coast guys, there's going to be an adjustment from the East Division on catching up with the speed. When it comes time to match up with those offenses, and some really talented setters in both the West and Central divisions. So I think that'll be the kind of the factor that we need to key in on is, playing against guys who move the ball around pretty quick. But if you can serve them tough, then maybe you limit those opportunities. And I expect some big, heavy serving, some good out of system play on both ends this weekend. And it's maybe a little more of the out of system game is going to be what carries us through, and we're going to have to swing our way out of some situations, but we're pretty good at that stuff. So
that's fun stuff to watch. That's a great take and a great high level summary of what we can expect this weekend. Vince, you want to go over where Tier 2 kind of stands right now before we wrap up the show?
Yeah, absolutely. Tier 2 is that what West Division Cup was a huge success in the regards of the 2-tier model.
Right.
Mostly seeing the fact that every single team except for Riptide was able to put points on the board, and moving towards the promotional aspect of the league. But the fact that every single team got out there and competed as well as they did. You saw Brigade taking sets off of Sport Connects. You saw, Slunkers and all that they did. And it was very, very exciting to see. The one take I got from this is New York Pride, playing the long game. They're intending to compete in every single event. And they right now are sitting on top of the East Division as far as Tier 2 goes. Really the only team out of the East Division that has collected any points would be the Richmond River City Flow, and they have, I think, 4. But Pride right now getting six points out of West Division Cup. They're in it for the long haul. I've talked to Terrence and Crossan, and he's definitely obviously their goal is Tier 1, and I think that the approach that they're making shows that, hey, you got to do this. It's not a sprint. It's definitely a marathon, and they're going to continue to gather those points, and they're, I think, putting themselves in the right position to show, hey, this is how it's got to be done. It's not a quick splash. It's not, let's go, win a couple tournaments right away. I think the only team that potentially could do that would be Ruckus, but then we'll see how the rest of their cup season turns out. So really, from my perspective, I think New York Pride's doing it right. I think Slunkers are doing it right. They're going to play the long game, and they're going to give themselves as many opportunities to get those points to get the promotion.
Well said. Yeah, Pride off to a great start. 9 points total now, with 3 carrying over from last year. The East and West Division races in Tier 2, as far as getting promoted goes, are going to be long marathons in all likelihood, unless Ruckus can win some more tournaments, which is obviously very possible. But conversely, the Central Division of Tier 2 is a little bit closer to a sprint. And we'll talk about that a lot as we look towards the Chicago tournament in early March, because there are some teams there that are racking up more points than I expected, faster than I expected. And then with Milwaukee Dive coming into the mix, so that's going to be really fun to follow. So we're after this weekend, you can expect all the updated standings on the website, Tier 1 and Tier 2. You'll be able to sort through them all. So we're working on that as teams carry over points from last year. And it's great stuff. The competition within all the divisions for promotion and then for Tier 1 teams to make the playoffs is just awesome so far. The model is totally working, and I'm stoked to put the East Division of Tier 1 on display. We'll see who comes out ahead. I have no way to pick this weekend. I have no idea. Like, sometimes I do kind of have a clue, like with Icemen going into the first event of the Central. I definitely had a clue on that one. This weekend, I have no idea, and I'm super excited about that. It makes it way more fun for me to watch and commentate.
Yeah, absolutely. I think me personally, I got to go prediction. Team LVC is going to do what Team LVC has done, considering the roster is pretty much the exact same they've had for the past 6-7 years. And so I think that they just go in as the team to beat. being the tenured team. But obviously that just really puts a target on their back. I don't think it really does anything to help them. I think it really just more motivates the other guy, Force and Bounce to go and handle business. But obviously the one thing we're going to see out of the East, and we talked about the divisional differences, is that the East has amazing middles, and you're going to see that from all of those teams. Great middle battles, setters that can get on the ball. And the difference is, I think, going to be which pins bring it the best.
Well said, dude. Very well said. So just to go over the matches for this weekend one more time really quickly, because good point in the chat, streaming schedule and stream availability. So all 6 of these matches are streamed. All the times are Eastern. So volleyball live from Connecticut here on this YouTube channel all weekend long, all public. So no members only streams, all public for everyone this weekend. The membership program, huge success, by the way, for West Cup. We got a lot of members in there who wanted to watch all the matches, and we're still rolling those out as public as the days go on. But all 6 matches this weekend streamed live right here for everybody, starting with tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern, which I'm so excited for. So, boys, is that about all we got? Or do anyone want to hit anything else, or can we get ready to go to Connecticut?
I'm already here, but I can't wait to have you.
Nice.
Yeah, I hope it's not too cold up there. I think it was 80 today in Arizona.
Vince, I'm not talking to you. I'm gonna put you on mute. Get out of here.
Did I get muted? Yeah, you'll be here in a week, so you'll be able to reap the benefits as well. Garrett.
I'll be there in a week. Yep, I'm stoked to be there in a week. But first, it is Connecticut time. I'm on my way to the East Coast tomorrow. Garrett, I will see you tomorrow night, my friend. Can't wait for you guys to make your VLA debut, and then we will be back with the show sometime next week to wrap up the East and preview next weekend's Arizona event in the West. So, boys, thanks for the show. Vince, I'll see you next week. Garrett, I'll see you tomorrow, man.
Yes, sir.
Make sure anyone watching, go follow the Northeast Force. Their link is in the descriptions at Northeast Men's Volleyball, or Northeast Men's Volley, maybe.
Yep, Northeast Men's Volley.
Got it. That's in the description. And follow Garrett as well, also in the description. So you can keep up with all the boys throughout the weekend. And we will see you guys tomorrow night from Connecticut. Thank you all for watching.
Thanks, fellas.
Yeah.
See you, boys. Thanks.